Hola, buenos días, soy Nico. And today we're here to start off another wonderful week's worth of content. Well, yes. Unfortunately, this Nico's Quick Chat will not be a very happy-go-lucky subject, and it's actually very disheartening. But before we get started, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me on patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive videos, weekly live streams, to be a part of the live streams where we have multifaceted conversations with varied topics depending on the week. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in. Patreon's last exclusive was actually over Fat Cat's recent pushback because he basically said he doesn't believe that people that are on EBT deserve to have sweets, junk food, etc., and that they should be restricted on what they're allowed to buy since they have assistance. And then he opened up that he's allowed to comment on this, seeing as how he also receives food stamps, but continued to say he doesn't care about the restrictions because he also has disposable income and he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if he wanted to buy junk food, he'd simply pull out his card to do so. And then that took like a complete turn and it went very downhill. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in. But now let's get on to the actual story. This week's Quick Chat is actually going to be over the untimely passing of Tim Kruger. Nico, who is Tim Kruger? His official government name is Marcel. If you do not know who he has an entire empire in the adult industry called TimTales. He has been a performer for at least 10 years. If I remember correctly, Nico, I remember watching this man in high school, so it's probably longer than 10 years. But Tim Kruger, I believe he was based in Spain at this moment. He basically was pronounced no longer with us by his partner, who came online to say that he passed in his home by an accident. It had nothing to do with substances. It had nothing to do with nefarious purposes. So before people begin to speculate, I would like to just get that out of the way. And this is all the information that we have at this point. If I get more details on it, I'll update you all. Thank you. He loved his audience, loved the years of being able to provide entertainment for you. It's so disheartening just because I have looked up to this man for years. Nico, when I tell you I was a big fan of Tim's work, you have no idea. That man, when it comes to cinematography, when it comes to energy, when it came to chemistry, top tier. Now, I always say I would never be able to work with that studio as a bottom for the sole fact that the bottoms in his scenes have vibranium holes because there's a lot going on. But I've always respected his vision and what he actually did when he got in front of the camera, or if he was just taking the producer role. This conversation in and of itself is sad, seeing as how we lost a pioneer in the industry, but it was also disheartening how quickly people began to try to spread this story with nefarious messages. It's unfortunate that the boyfriend had to come out and basically say substances were not involved, but even when he said that when announcing the passing, blogs began to pick up the story and immediately said, unfortunately, Tim Kruger passed, but it's alleged that substances were involved and that this was a substance-fueled incident. And it twisted my stomach for the sole fact that this man was pronounced no longer with us within less than 12 hours. And in this announcement, it was already specified that there was no nefarious thing behind the scenes. This was not because of substances. This was not because of an exterior force. It was just an accident in his home. And people already began to villainize him and demonize him for the sole fact that he is an adult entertainer. And every time we see this, when an adult entertainer passes, unfortunately, it's sensationalized, especially if it was of their own doing, or unfortunately, if they did suffer from addiction. That is always thrown in their face. So the fact that this man's surviving partner had to come out and say that's not the case, and blogs are already trying to run with that story, it's disgusting. Because they immediately then went, oh, well, it was just verified by the partner that he actually wasn't on substances. The partner posted that 10 hours ago. That's how everybody found out. Because when I logged in, I just saw rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace. I was like, oh my God, what happened? And then the blog that posted that it was allegedly substances posted it 7 hours. So you knew that that was not the scenario, but you ran with it because it would be more sensational. Now, I don't understand While when we look at adult entertainers, we lust after them, we enjoy the content they make, but there's always some negative attachment that people try to force onto someone, even if they haven't necessarily done anything bad. Because in my experience, I have not heard a singular person talk down on Tim. No one's saying like, oh, he was this disgusting, person who just crossed boundaries and did negative things to people all the time. It's always a good note of him. It's always a good speech of him, because I know I was actually in contact with him recently. I was talking to Raheem and I was asking, oh, do you want me to stay like an exclusive on your studio? And he was telling me if I wanted more credibility in the industry, that I should probably try to work with other studios. And he suggested TimTales, and I gagged because I'm like, girl, I've been a fan since high school. So he was like, I'll actually introduce you to Tim. He's my good friend. So we started following each other on my Super Happy Adult Fun Time page, because I also double as a performer. And he basically told me, oh, the next time you're in Spain, let me know. We'll set up a shoot. We'll get you into this, to the studio. We'll do all this. And I'm like, oh my God, this is literally a dream come true. Like, I get to work with one of my idols, same way I felt with Raheem. I'm like, oh my God, I get to work with one of my crushes. But to find out that this happened, it's so disheartening. And this isn't me being one of those groupies that are like, oh my God, I knew him. Girl, we had one conversation. But that's me telling you, I had like a lot of respect for him. I've had a lot of respect for him since high school, because he's introduced me to some of my favorite performers like Diego and Wagner. Back in the day, that's how I found out about them. Or who else has he worked with? Because I know he used to have Lucio Saints in his studio, and Lucio Saints and Alejandro, that was one of my favorites. TimTales not only pioneered him as a performer, but it also put a lot of other performers on the map, because it is a respected studio. When it comes to camera quality, when it came to energy, when it came to setting up a proper scene that you were like, I didn't expect that to happen halfway through, he was behind it. He was behind it. So once again, I hope that his family is able to grieve. I hope his partner is able to grieve, because I don't know the details, but I think he's the one that found him in the home. So I can only imagine how heartbreaking that must have been. I genuinely wish peace to him, and that he's able to rest in peace, seeing as how he is a respected member of our community, whether it be adult entertainment or just our community in general. He has helped a lot of people find their footing in the industry, and his legacy will go down in history as an amazing performer and producer. Unfortunately, where would his studio go from here? Now that we have this news, what do you guys think is going to happen to the TimTales brand, seeing as how it's not just him? It's not like he was an OnlyFans performer. He has an actual studio with so many people working under him, and so many people relying on his expertise to like put a perfect picture together. So now that he's no longer here, where do you think the brand is going to go? Do you think TimTales will continue to go on just in his legacy, even though he's no longer producing and setting up the scenes? Or do you believe that now that he's passed, the entire production will just cease to exist? Unfortunately, I feel like that could be a possibility, because seeing as how he was the main face performer and producer, without him, who's going to hold it all together, and would it still be the same since he's not the one calling the shots? But with that being said, I'll leave the conversation up to y'all, and please be respectful in the comments. I know I rarely come online and be like, be respectful with the dialogue, but certain scenarios, such as when I talked about Miss Sherry, boom, I'm sorry. I don't accept transphobia. Do not be transphobic in my comments, because I will delete them and I will mute you, so you will never be able to comment again. When it comes to the passing of somebody like Passion for Pluto or even Tim Krueger, if you are in my comments being blatantly disrespectful to somebody that has just passed away for no reason other than you feel you're better than them because of their career, I'm going to mute you and hide you from this channel. You will not be able to comment in the future, and you will only be able to watch. If that's what you want, then let it rip. But if you can be respectful, if we can have this dialogue, especially talking about the future of his company and productions, let's do that. Let's keep his memory alive, But before I continue to ramble, I'll see you guys next time.